Welcome to South Cop Live, the podcast where community comes to life. We bring you the stories behind South Cop's incredible small businesses by interviewing local entrepreneurs and leaders that are contributing to making our neighborhoods the place to be. I'm your host, Elise White, bringing you all the connections and the good vibes to the mic. And today, we're very excited because I have with me Mr. Raul Thomas, the amazing, dynamic, spectacular owner of the Marietta Theatre in the Square. This, ladies and gentlemen, this guy has been established in this performing arts world for over 10 years. We could say a decade now, right?
It's been a decade, yeah.
Over a decade. We could say
right.
over a decade.
Right.
That's
We're
so
a day
cool.
over, yeah.
That's amazing. So you've been keeping the lights on the stage and
correct.
allowing magic to shine in our community.
Yes.
And so very honored to just spend some time with you, learning a little bit more about who you are, as well as the value that you're bringing to the community through performing arts.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. So you say you guys because our creative theater man behind the scenes in production, I feel like it's a robbery for me not to mention Tony Brown during a production style interview today,
Correct.
but he's our creator editing this podcast today. So I want to give him a great shout out before we get started, but also for you, Raul, this place is awesome.
Thank you. I always say, I started saying behind the scenes never gets enough credit.
Yeah.
So I always like to talk about us.
I love it.
It's a we thing, it's not a me thing. And I'm just so happy and honored that we've been able to do this for the last 10 years, be able to give our community and our people the opportunity to do what they want to do unapologetically, with love and with passion and with grace.
That's amazing. You know, the arts has a funny thing about bringing people together. I consider myself a woman of the arts because I was raised in choir, from gospel show, women's choir. So I was kind of raised in the arts a little bit, not theater, but I really value plays. I grew up going to Broadway shows and seeing musicals, and so stage plays are something that I just love to see. And so the fact that you are the founder or the owner of this incredible theater, I was just curious about your background because I understand that you have
a slew of things.
A slew, like you redefine what do I want to be when I grow up a little bit, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of scary because, unless you know the true story of the cliche, a jack of all trades, right, you would think that you're a master of none.
That's right.
But the story's a lot longer, right? And it's not the cliche, they just found a way of cutting it short.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be a master of all, and you're supposed to grow and learn as much as you can. It's one lifetime.
You only get one, right?
One time. You only get one
that.
shot, right? And you have to ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? And you have to ask yourself, if I was to do this, how would I do it? Who would I do it with? And then you say, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. And I've been blessed. I have a son and my business partner, my youngest son and my business partner, Emil Thomas, Nathaniel Emil Thomas. And he's the reason why we're in the theater business today. And I say that because I would have never thought in 1,000 years that I'd be doing this day in and day out in my life.
Right.
I grew up in New York, and I knew what Broadway was. I knew what church was. I knew what it was to play the trumpet, and I knew what it was to be in band, and I knew what it was to do little shows and things like that, but never to a scale of where we're at today. So the story is kind of weird because although I enjoyed being on the opposite side and watching theater, learning to actually run a theater and actually putting on theater, it's another world. And that's why I respect the back of the house so much.
Ooh, that's amazing. So yeah, I know that, understanding the broad dynamic of the world of theater, right? What's going on behind, what's going on in the front. And then how did you even step into it? Like, I know you said you started off as a chef, right?
Yeah, so I've been a chef by trade for the last 33 years of my life. And I'm just retired this year. I'm going on 9 months of retiring as a chef. Oh, it's great. It's great. My back loves me. My knees love me again.
Right.
The weight loves me again. I've lost a lot of weight.
So did you pick on your food a little bit as you eat?
Well, it's just horrible because that's all you do is pick. You don't sit down and eat, right?
Right.
I in the food business, I learned that is also artful. And I loved food.
Yeah.
And because you love food and your passion to it, I learned how to create food, but I also learned how to make food look good. I also learned how to make it fun.
Yeah.
I also learned how to do things that would just not get me so bored around the kitchen. Well, fast forward to 10 years ago,
Right.
we have a son, Emil, as I was telling you, that graduated from Ball State University by ways of Pebblebrook High School here in Cobb County.
Okay.
And he told me one day that he wanted to be in the arts. And a father, as a true father, I panicked. And I says, you want to do what? I'll pay for law school. I'll pay for be a doctor.
Right.
You really want to be in the arts? And he was like, yeah, Dad, this is what I want to do. I said, okay, well, if this is what you want to do, you're going to have to double major. I need you to take a business class.
You need to have something solid, right?
Yeah, right, because I'm also a sports lover, and I know that
gotcha.
Sports only lasts for so long, right?
Right.
So I said, if we're going to gamble on this, and you're going to do this for a career, then you need to do two things. You need to get yourself a business minor or major, and then you go ahead and you do your arts.
Okay.
Well, this boy, he is an amazing young man, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity, and you'll have the opportunity to interview him one day.
Yeah.
He's just an exceptional young man. And he went and took the challenge, and he went to Ball State and he graduated with honors, and he did some amazing things while it was going on. But just before he graduated, I was actually driving by this theater that had been closed for 5 years.
Okay.
And I was looking at it, and I kept looking at it, and my mind just kept playing back to me saying, he wants to be in the arts. He wants to be in the arts. So I put food and arts together, and I said, wow, this place would be amazing to do a dinner theater out of. Okay. So he can do his arts, I can do my food, and I can watch my son.
I love that.
Isn't that great, right?
Yes.
Well, didn't quite work out that way. But what it did do was it actually showed us that we were able to, as a family, get together and actually do a great thing. I came in, I took over the theater after 2 attempts. My first attempt was a failure of taking over the theater.
Yeah.
The theater was just in a complete disarray. It just wasn't the way we could afford to take it over. It needed a lot of work. It needed things that we weren't prepared for, and knowledge. I didn't know anything about the theater business. He was graduating from Ball State, and I'm just an entrepreneur. I'm just a person that knows business. I'm just a risk taker. I was willing to do things all my life that would give me the opportunity to just grow and grow and grow.
Right.
So the first time I came in, the landlord gave me a number, and it just wasn't working for me, so I walked away from the deal. There was no way that I was going to be able to build a kitchen and do all of that. But about 2 months later, I'm actually catering an event downtown on Edgewood. And a young lady walks up to me that had seen me before on TV and in other places cooking, and said, oh, Chef Thomas. And I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going? He says, we just took over this theater in Marietta, and we would love for you to take over the concession booth and put your food in that concession booth. And I said, you just took over a theater where?
Right.
And she said, in Marietta. Well, divine intervention at that point hit my mind. And I said, you're kidding me. You talking about the theater across the street from the Strand?
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, exactly. That's the one. I was like, wow, well, that theater's been closed for a while. Yeah, well, we just took it over. Okay, well, let's see what happens.
Right.
Fast forward to, I came in, I sat down in a meeting, we met with some people, and it didn't work. And I walked away again for the second time.
Wow.
Walked away again for the second time, and a month later, I get a phone call from the young lady that had called me. She says, hey, you mentioned that you had tried to take over that theater, and the gentleman that took it over just ran out of money.
Wow.
I said, what? I figured that would happen to anybody that took over that theater. It needed a lot of work.
Wow.
And she says, yeah, well, he ran out of money, and they're just about ready to open up this show, and they're trying to find some sponsors, or they're trying to find some people to go in. I said, well, I'm always in for a good investment. With certain conditions.
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, let's come in and talk. Well, we got into a negotiation, and I ended up negotiating with them where I was able to loan the theater some money, allow them to open up production, and pay me back with interest a nice little amount.
Businessman.
Of course. And it had some clauses, if you mismanaged the money, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, then I would automatically become the general manager, and I will take over the theater until I got my money back. And that was the clause. Well, it didn't take but about a week and a half, 2 weeks before I seen that the money was being mismanaged, things weren't going well, and within about a month and a half, I was in here as the general manager of a theater that I knew nothing about.
Well, that's genius.
But protecting
protecting
my money,
Absolutely.
right? So I was just really protecting my money.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I called my son, and he was in Ball State, and he was just getting ready to be a senior in Ball State, and I says, Emil, and at that time we called him Nathaniel, and I said, Nathaniel, he says, what? He says, Dad did a thing. And he said, what? What did you do? And I said, you remember that little theater down the street? And I described it because we had came here once before. Yeah. And he said, yeah. I says, well, welcome, it's yours. So, he said, you did what? Wow. I says, you have a theater now. So when you graduate, you have somewhere to come home to, and you can do your work and make your own mistakes. He's like, Dad, you're crazy. I said, no, I'm not crazy. I'm just protecting my investments.
Literally.
My
family investment, my business investment.
That is correct.
You are protecting. You're a protector.
I'm a protector.
Awesome.
I'm a protector.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a leader. I'm a protector.
I see that. And I am fascinated. I've been to a few of your productions. The most recent one was a Motown Christmas.
Okay.
And one of the things that I noticed when I walk in, and it says Emil Theater, right when you walk in, right?
That's correct.
And he's the artistic director.
Correct.
And I just want to understand, you know, kind of how has his vision as the director kind of shaped the evolution of the theater, you know, from I did a thing to I'm here 10 years.
Well, yeah, I did a thing to now where I did 10 years. Emil's tenacity is unparallelable.
Wow.
Comparable to none. I cannot take any of the credit for the productions that take place here. He takes credit for all the productions, and rightfully so.
Right.
I stay in my lane. I handle the business. I handle the people.
Right.
I create the culture, and he makes sure that he puts on some amazing, amazing plays and amazing shows. And that tag team between both of us has shown itself to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's worked very, very well. We've had our mistakes, and we've made some big mistakes, and we've made some small mistakes. But as an owner, it's okay.
Part of the job.
It's part
right?
of the job.
Right.
Exactly. You learn to make those mistakes.
Right.
Emil's a graduate now from DePaul, the art school in the theater school in Chicago.
Yeah.
He got his master's. He is well prepared, well rounded. He's not just a title. He has proven himself not just in name, but in diplomas and in his work, that he is prepared for this position. And his position is a position that you normally don't get till you're about 40 to 45, maybe 50 years old. And Emil turns 31 now in January.
That's super cool.
And he's been doing it for 10 years.
He's been doing so his resume is up here.
Yeah. He's incredible. He's amazing. Yeah. He's an amazing guy.
That's
he
awesome.
really is. I remember our first production, you know, we didn't even have money to buy the rights. You know, I really didn't know what I was getting into. And I'm not kidding you when I say I didn't know what I was getting into. I really didn't know what I was getting into, but we knew we were doing something good.
Yeah.
And we knew that we were saving a theater from closing again. And we knew that he wanted to be in the arts. And because we did that, we knew that God would look over us.
Yeah.
And God would take care of us. We made it through COVID. We made it through the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're still standing now in 2025. Celebrating our 10th year.
That's wonderful. And I see vision, I see legacy, and it's really impactful. And I see a person of impact that are the things that are within you, and also, you know, the kind of productions that you put on in this building, you and Emil put on in this building, and I think it's awesome. So I'm curious, because impact is something that that's like one of my favorite words, you know, being about impact, doing things for, you know, big impact, no matter how big. If you're impacting one person, you're impacting the world. But can you share kind of a memorable performance or audience moment that really highlights the theater's impact?
Yeah, I have several, but a couple that stand out for me personally, and Emil may see differently. One of the first times that I really realized that I was in the theater business is when we did a play called Native Son by Nambi Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got chills right now just saying the word.
Wow.
That show was when I learned what a show can do to you and take you in. And it could really bring you in, and then you have to learn how to let it go. because it was so deep. It was so intricate. It was so, and we had such an amazing cast. Our cast was, and I have to say, our cast was the students from Ball State University, because when he came home, he was given the opportunity to finish his last year here as his internship in the theater. He brought back 6 kids from Ball State University. I rented a house, they lived in the house, they rehearsed in the basement, and they came in here and they worked. And for the first year and a half, almost 2 years, all they did was put on productions and work in their house. Those kids did their internship here. They went on to do great things. We have some of them that are doing some amazing things, and Emil stayed with his legacy. And in that, we did Native Son. And when we did Native Son, I tell you, till this day, that was one of the most impactful shows that we have ever done. It's not a happy show. It's a dark show, but it was so well put together. The cast was so invested in it, and the story was told so well by Nambi Kelly that it was hard not to embrace it. It was hard not to enjoy it. And then we had her come and actually watch the show and criticize, and not criticize, but critique the show and tell us what an amazing job we did. And that's when I knew that we were onto something.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's impactful. It's incredible.
Very impactful.
Because it kind of allowed you to stand firm. Like, we're doing this, and we're going to ride this to the, kind of just ride this wave, this consistent wave.
At that point, Emil had to put me in my place and say,
really?
Yeah, at that point, he actually had to put me in my place. And he says, Dad, first thing is you got to come out of the show. And he had to bring me back out of the show. He says, I see you walking in the show still. You got to come out.
Explain that for me.
So in the method of a theater, and artists, they embrace the characters. They embrace the people, and they almost kind of become them.
Yeah.
And I almost became the Black Rat. Wow. And I almost became watching what was going on. It almost put me in there. And I watched the show so much through rehearsals and through the plays that I immersed myself in there. And for me to come out, I didn't know how to come out. I'm not an artist. I didn't know nothing about it. But I did realize that something had changed in me. And I did realize that everything I did and everything I talked about was about this.
Interesting.
And it was crazy.
Oh, wow.
It
So
was
he
just,
had to like
yeah,
snap
so
you
he
out
was
of
like,
it
hey,
almost.
come on, man, you got to get out of this. You got to wake up. And I was like, whoa. And I caught it. So we laugh about it. So this day, the other day, in fact, he says to me, hey, would you like to do Native Son again? And I went, heck yeah, man, that would be great. Because such an impactful show, you know? Then after that, I realized that we were missing the boat on something. We weren't giving our Hispanic part of our culture enough attention.
Okay.
So we started to do Spanish shows.
Nice.
And in doing the Spanish shows, we did a couple of Spanish shows that were very, very impactful as well. And that's where I realized that this just wasn't about giving Emil an opportunity. This was about giving our community an opportunity. This was about giving men, women, children, and adults the opportunity to tell stories that they've never been able to tell, or probably would have never had the opportunity to tell, because as you know, we've always been seen as the tokens.
Yep.
So when you go onto the theater and you go into a theater, you'll see 1, 2, maybe 3 of us, but you would not see a cast of us.
Right.
And that was unheard of. And we had turned it completely around. We went to, hey, wait a minute, we're no longer the tokens, we're running the show. So Emil started doing shows in this incredible fashion. And that's why we call it, and you'll hear every now and then when you come into the theater, does this have the Emil Twist?
Okay.
And the Emil Twist is what it is that he's taken shows, all kinds of shows, and has created them his way. He made Hamlet a female. He did Othello, and he changed the whole show around, but it worked.
Yeah.
And he continues to do that in every one of his shows. So you can come in here and see Gift of the Magi. You can come in here and see Driving Miss Daisy. You can come see anything you want, but know that it's going to have the Emil Twist.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of you and how you thought about your chef career. And you kept thinking about food and kind of bringing new things and new elements to food. And that was something that he obviously watched you do. And he's bringing that into his passion.
So about 6 years, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, about 6 years into this, him and I are sitting down one day and we're talking, and I said, you know what? I know why we do this well.
Yeah.
He says, what do you mean? I says, because food is art.
Exactly.
Food is art. So this is why I love this, because we're creating. And because we're creating, yeah, it's great.
It's great.
And it's second nature.
Yep.
So he was raised around food because, of course, family business, 4 boys, all 4 boys.
He gonna get this working,
He
right?
gonna get this working. Mama and all of us worked the kitchens for the last none years,
Yeah,
okay?
I understand.
So between that and him knowing that creativity, but taking his creativity and taking it to the stage, and me taking my food creativity and helping him behind the scenes of the stage, we've been able to be successful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
One of the things, too, I want to bring to the table that I was kind of, looking at your background, I looked a little bit on the website, and I was impressed.
Okay.
Because I am a workforce development professionally. So I was impressed that you have an internship program built in to your production style. So you're offering internships for those who might be young or old who want to get their hands a little bit dirty and learn the ropes around production and the performing arts world. I thought that was incredible because I don't see it often. Mm-hmm. And so can you just talk a little bit about your internship program?
So Emil developed the internship program behind the idea that we're a community.
Yeah.
It wasn't behind the idea that we're a theater. It was behind the idea that we're a community. And because we're a community, we want to give people the opportunity to do things that they may have never been able to have a chance to do.
Yeah. And
that's where that came from. And then develop good talent, right? As a chef and as a business owner and as a restaurateur, I've always hired people that knew less, that knew more. Why? Because if you know too much, then you're going to think you know more than me. Then you're going to change my recipes. You're going to change. You're going to change everything I'm telling you to do. And what you're going to end up doing is doing it your way. Well, no. We like people that are in the virgin stage of their career, and then we can train them through. So what better than that through an internship program?
Yeah, I think it's great, and it also speaks to a little bit how you establish yourself through the first production of Native Son, because you had Emil kind of grab his students, right, to get that recent college grad, let me get that experience, because I'm not going to get this experience anywhere else, so I'm going to get it here. So it's kind of like, it's a sustainability plan a little bit, right?
Well, it was good and bad.
Okay.
And it was good and bad. And why? Because Emil wanted to go to San Francisco.
Okay.
He had no plans of coming back to Atlanta. His first choice was he was going to go to San Francisco. He was going to take care of the arts. He was going to end up in New York. He was going to be on Broadway. And Georgia was not in his path.
It was not on his mind.
Was not on his mind, was not in his path. But being a protective father and being a father that I wanted to make sure that nobody took advantage of him, that nobody took him for something, because I knew business and I knew that this was a ugly business, and in the sense of that people could be very cruel and that people could be very unfair. I kind of threw it at him. And then throwing it at him, he wasn't going to let Dad down, so he joined on. Now, he learned to love it, he learned to grow it, and today if you ask him, he'll tell you it's the best thing he's ever done. But 5 years ago, he might have told you that was the worst thing my father ever did for me. Right? So it's a
it's a give and take.
It's a give and take. It really, really is.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
it was hard for me to accept that also.
I'm sure.
I thought I was doing the right thing all the time. And I realized quickly that sometimes you could give your kids too much. Sometimes you could protect them too much. And sometimes it's not what you want, but what they want.
Yeah.
And you got to let them fall. But if you can help them and cushion them a little bit from falling, then you're okay.
Yeah. And obviously, you said that you guys learned to stay in your own lanes, which I think has really
hard
helped.
for me. Very, very hard for me.
Some L's, but growing. That's cool.
Yeah. That was very hard for me because as an owner and as a manager, you're about controlling things, right?
Yeah.
So if I knew what a play should look like. I knew what I'd like to hear, or I knew what I'd like to see, right? Or I knew what I would go to Broadway to spend my money on. And I not necessarily always loved the choices of plays and shows that he did. And my argument was, we need to sell tickets. And his argument was, I don't want to do the same thing everybody's doing.
Gotcha.
I want to do my own thing. I want new work. I want to do that. And I'm like, no, I want to see stuff that sells and that fills up the seats so that we can sustain.
Yeah.
And it took a give and take on both parts for us to get to where we are today.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell me, as far as your earmark shows for this upcoming year, what type of shows or events or live productions can we look forward to seeing at the
this year is going to be an amazing year. We have an amazing sponsor that came into our world this year, ViStar Credit Union.
Okay.
They have come into our world. They started last year, and now they have given of themselves to us this year. That's going to allow us to go to the next level.
Wow.
And we've really now just taken this to this next level. Our production value has tripled. Now we have an LED screen on the stage. We're doing shows. I don't know if you came to see The Color Purple, but if you came to see The Color Purple, that was our first production with the LED screen.
Nice.
And that was proof to us that we have taken this another notch. But now with the sponsorship and the loyal people that we have, ViStar and several other people, Seven Minds and the Matos firm and certain places, they have been able to help us now put on productions as if though we were on Broadway. This year you're going to be seeing The Bodyguard.
I can't even wait. I am so excited. When I heard that y'all was putting on The Bodyguard.
That's correct.
Yes.
So that's going to be one of our first productions this
Nice.
year. Right after that, we have a show that Emil wrote, directed, and produced during COVID. So during COVID, we did a show while you guys were all home with your mask on and looking at your computers. We got ourselves into what we called the bubble, and we put a cast together and a camera crew together and me and Emil. And for 12 nights, we sat inside that theater and we filmed the show live for everybody that was home. We were one of the first ones to stream when COVID hit.
Wow.
We were already looking at a way on how we can get the younger people, the millennials, to start coming into the theater.
Right.
So we started looking at streaming platforms and we started looking at things and we were buying them and putting things aside, and COVID hit. And as soon as COVID hit, it was almost like a switch.
Yep.
We switched right over to streaming and we released a show called Partners, which is about two people, ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, that are stuck in their condo while there is a mass shooting going on right behind them.
That sounds like an action film.
Exactly, and it's just like an action film.
Wow.
It is packed full. You see how this couple actually gets to understand each other again. It's just a great show. It's just an amazing show. I don't want to spoil it at all. It is a great show, and it's called Partners. And then, if that's not enough, we're coming back with Sister Act. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to see them nuns on stage, because Whoopi Goldberg is one of my favorite, you know?
Me too, that's so cool.
So we're going to do Sister Act. Now this year we did The Color Purple, Whoopi Goldberg, right? Now this year we'll be doing Sister Act, which we're really, really excited. And then for the last 10 years we've been doing a show, which is the very first show that Emil wrote and produced, because we didn't have the money for the rights, called Gift of the Magi 2.0.
Okay.
So it's just like Gift of the Magi.
Yep.
She cuts her hair, he sells his fob, they give each other a Christmas, but he elaborated that 14-page book into a 90-minute play because we could not afford the rights the very first year. Well, this year we celebrated 10 years of Gift of the Magi. We filmed it, we produced it, and now it's being taken to see if we can sell it to Hallmark, sell it to somebody else, and we retired it from the theater, and he's coming back with a brand new show called Sage Christmas, which is going to be an amazing show, just like Motown. Not Motown music, but it's going to be a slew of Christmas songs and Christmas tunes with our Sage Ensemble, which he's developed, his ensemble team.
Wow, the Emil Twist is magical.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Cool. I used to think it was corny in the beginning. I was like, the Emil Twist. But then I got it. And I was like, I get it.
Because look at the evolution. Like, you can take a play and now you can sell it potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think it's amazing.
Yeah. And then, here in the theater, we have another theater company that we give a residency to, and they have 5 shows that they're doing.
Okay.
And then obviously we have the Step Stewards that do the Motown. We have the Palmer Williams Jr. that comes in with his shows every single year, and he'll be doing 2 shows again this year.
Nice.
And then in between that, I do Hispanic Heritage Month. I do 3 Kings in January. We do a slew of things. We do comedy shows. I have a big comedy show coming soon with Mark Vieira from New York. Really, really great stuff.
Love it. One of the things that you just started to say it, and I want to take a moment to really highlight it, but like, what sets this theater apart in the world of entertainment? And for me, I think it's community, but I'll let you say.
It's community, but for me is that we're rebels. We're rebels. We got no rules. We got no rules.
Yeah.
We're about telling our story. You know, to say that you're an urban theater in Marietta, Georgia, is huge.
It is.
It's huge.
Yeah.
To think that a father and son could be respected the way we're respected in this community, is huge. It's unparalleled. It's never been seen. We don't do what anybody else does. We don't compete with anybody. We're different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes us different.
Wonderful. So.
so sorry.
No, you're fine. So I know you guys are known by giving back. I saw that you do some community drives, and I think during
Oh,
COVID,
you've done your research.
I did a little bit of research.
I see that.
Yeah, during COVID, you gave back to Puerto Rico when they suffered a natural disaster.
Prior to COVID, yes.
Prior to COVID.
During Hurricane Maria. Right during Hurricane Maria, I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Afro-Latino, right? And when I opened the very first Puerto Rican restaurant here in Georgia. So that was my first transcending thing in Georgia.
Wow.
Was I opened the very first Puerto Rican restaurant, authentic Puerto Rican restaurant here in Georgia. Very tied to my community in Puerto Rico. I love my culture. I love both sides of my culture.
Right.
And when Hurricane Maria hit, I found a need to do something, a need that I didn't understand. I'm not a missionary. I'm not an extreme religious person, but I found the need to do something. So I called all my brothers and sister chefs, and I said, what are we going to do for Puerto Rico? And they all joined on board. And between about 7 or 8 of big chefs in this community got together, and we started to collect and collect and collect, and we sent 27 containers of goods to Puerto Rico.
Wow.
I went out there and I met the containers, and we took them to the churches, and the churches give it out to the community, and we were able to do something great for our community in Puerto Rico. And that goes with the community thing. That was a community thing. I had family members over there that while Hurricane Maria was going on, I didn't even go see. I sent people to go take care of them, because it wasn't about taking care of my family, it was about taking care of our community,
Right.
which there was a huge need for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, share, I just think that it's important to be invested in the community, and you're doing amazing things, not only like bringing voice to our Cobb community, but also, outside of that community. I just think it's incredible to just kind of have that kind of North Star, and then everything else kind of falls into line.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because if you ask some people today, some people still say that they don't know we're here. I've had people this year walk in and go, oh my God, you guys have been here 10 years? And I'm like, yeah. Well, you know what you really need to start doing is you need to start, and everybody has a reason or has your magic potion already written, right? And maybe you need to advertise more, or maybe you need to advertise over here. If I tell you the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we have spent on advertising, if I tell you the amount of interviews that we've done, the amount of TV shows that we've been on, the radio stations that we're on, the things that we do, and people still to this day will say to us, we didn't know you were here.
That's
the craziest thing in the world.
That's where we are, though, with the digital world. I mean, it's information overload sometimes, and really, if you're not looking for it, you won't know.
This is true. This is true, and something has to catch your attention.
Exactly.
So my response is always, well, I'm glad you're here now. And that's where Welcome Home comes from.
Nice.
Right? So if you ever wondered where Welcome Home comes from, I got tired of hearing people tell me, we didn't know you were here.
So when you come in.
So when they come in, I go, welcome home. Where
so you beat
been?
them to the punch?
And I beat them to the punch. And as soon as they walk in, I go, welcome home. And they're like, oh my God, nobody says that. What do you mean? Welcome home. Where you been?
We've been looking for you.
That's exactly right.
It changes
and that's
the
what
narrative.
And it changes the whole dynamic. And now guess what? They become part of our family, right?
Yes.
And you see them. And now you see more of them. And I'll have people come in and go, Mr. Thomas, I've been reading about you for the last 3 weeks. I had to just come in and say hello. And I get nervous because I'm like, that's weird. Why are you reading about me?
Know me.
Why are you are you stalking me or what? What's going on? but it's sticking and it's making sense. And the slogan of Welcome Home has become the biggest impact that we've had.
Ooh.
Because now people walk in and they tell us, we're home, and we love it. And it's great.
They stepping in. They're like, but they feel it.
Yeah,
And then
they
they're going to see themselves here. They're going to bring more family here. One of the best marketing is word of mouth.
Word of mouth, that's
if they feel like they're going home, come on in.
Yeah. You know, it hasn't always been all roses.
Yeah.
And it hasn't all been great. But you got to look at the bright side of things, right? And
Yeah.
I try to look at the glass half full, not half empty.
Every day.
Every single day. I try to do it with dignity. I try to do it with integrity. I try to do it with respect for myself and for others. And with the hope that people will do the same for us.
Yeah, wonderful. So can you share if there are any local arts initiatives or other businesses you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, ViStar Credit Union. I mean, they are our newest and largest sponsor. The Schickler family, Seven Minds. Oh my God, they were our biggest and our biggest donors, and not only donors but believers of what we did.
Yeah.
We did a show called In the Heights. You remember? You remember
the musical.
The musical In the Heights, and Miss Schickler, Grace Schickler, which this lobby is actually named after.
Nice.
She is and still is a fanatic about In the Heights, and that was the first time we met her. She came in, she knew we were doing the show, and the second show she was there again. And the third show, we seen her again. And then we found out that she had bought tickets for every single show and brought every single friend that she had possibly ever knew to the show.
Wow.
And then to come out to find out that they've become one of our biggest sponsors as well.
Wonderful.
So the Schickler family it's imperable to our success. They are gracious. Grace, I love her. Her husband is an amazing gentleman, Scott Schickler.
Yeah.
They have been big to us. Wonderful. And then obviously the Matos firm and so many others that have been big and impactful to us throughout the year. The city of Marietta has taken good care of us. Wonderful. The mayor of the city has believed in what we've done. Although I think he didn't believe we were going to be here past 6 months, because he was one of the first ones that I went to go see. Mm-hmm. And after I went to go see him 6 months later, I had nothing from him, but now I see him all the time. Right. He believes in what we do. Wonderful. They support it in what we do. We had to prove ourselves, and that's okay. Yep. I didn't have a problem having to prove ourselves, and I'm glad that he's given us that opportunity.
Yeah, well, that's great, and it speaks to the work that you're doing. It speaks to how you're thinking about the next phase constantly. You know, you started off thinking you're going to do. What is it? Dine-in theater?
We thought we were going to do a dinner theater.
And look at you now. Like, it's just really great to see that evolution. So keep up the amazing work.
Thank you.
And Raul, before we wrap up, we got a game.
Okay.
All right?
Boy. I like games, but
you just need to get your mind right.
Right.
It's called the South Cobb Spotlight Sprint.
South Cobb
Spotlight
Sprint.
Yes.
I don't run.
I love to run, and so, but I don't sprint. But long distance. Right. But we do call it sprint because it's something that kind of ode to the run life.
Okay.
Right.
All
and so it's just a passion of mine.
All
so right. And so I'll say a word connected to your business or community.
Okay.
And you have to share the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. One word or?
You can't overthink it. It can be a word
or a phrase. Okay.
A word or a phrase.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Theater.
Passion.
Storytelling.
Storytelling. Marietta's Theatre in the Square.
Bam, I like that. Okay, I got a couple more. Food.
Chef Raul.
Family.
I love.
Legacy.
The Thomas family.
You just completed South Cobb Sprint. Spotlight Sprint. You got that. Awesome.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's
get
awesome.
you thinking a little bit.
Yeah,
but you got it.
That had me thinking. The second one really got me, but yeah, that's cool.
I like the way you think. You're like, okay, we're going to maximize.
That's
it.
Got to take it. That's right.
Family.
The Thomas
That's what
family.
we're doing.
That's
I love it.
That's what we do.
So thank you, Raul, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are amazing. Your spirit is great, and I can pick up on all the good energy. I can see your passion. One of the things, when I came to the show, I saw you doing every job here. And
yeah,
he
yeah,
got 5 jobs. He got
yeah,
5 jobs. You were on the stage. You were sweeping. I think I saw you behind the bar, and then you were passing out the food. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You are making this thing work, and you have to.
That's
and
the only
so
way
great.
you can. You got. Listen, there's a funny Spanish cliche that says "El que no tiende la tienda la pierde," which means in English, he who does not take care of his store will lose his store. So I learned that a long time ago. So I'm not that kind of boss, or I'm not that kind of owner that just watches people work and tells them what to do. Because if I tell you to do it, it's because I'll do it. And I'll never ask any of my employees or any of my volunteers or anybody that's involved with us to do something that I wouldn't do first.
Wow. Okay, South Cobb, you've heard it first. You've heard it from the man himself. He is here. He's here to stay. And he's got a passion for the work that he does, and he wants to bring a voice to all of you in this community. So please, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star rating review. You can subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and also follow us for more stories and reels shared for South Cobb Live. And if you come to the Marietta Theatre at the Square, tell them South Cobb Live sent you.
There you go. And you'll get about a 20-25% discount.
You heard it first.
There you go.
All right, Raul. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
All right.